Good afternoon, good evening. This is Yasendi and Coach Q coming. I am coming from you live from the state of Georgia, and he will say where he's coming from. It's Thursday evening. We want to have a conversation with you as always. And first, before I start, I want to say to all of you who continue to tune in, especially when we are not live, I want to say thank you. We see your print, although it's after the show, but we do see your print. We see that you come on when we are gone. Maybe the time is not convenient for you and you watch. So I want to say we appreciate it. It does not matter when you watch, so long you listen. I'm sure somehow you process some of what we're saying, and some of you will comment. If you comment out your voice, we will ask that you really give your input because your voice still matter. So as that we are all on this journey together in this on this journey of life, especially when it comes to Liberia, and then when it comes to Africa as a whole. So we want to say thank you again. Welcome to Second Third Africa Reimagine. We are here to reimagine our country, reimagine Liberia, reimagine what our children could be, reimagine if we do all what is right, or maybe 80% of what is right, where our country will be. Will we be in the United States? Will we be spread out all over the world? Okay. So tonight we will be talking about rethinking leadership. What should Liberia really look for in a leader? That's what we're going to talk about. If you remember, about 9 months ago, before the drama with the legislature, there was this famous saying, okay, we want our share. We want to get maximum share of whatever coming to the legislature because the Senate is getting theirs. We're not getting ours. That was the brain behind the removal of Funani Kofa, but that's a story for another day. I'm not going to get into it. He has turning his resignation, regardless of everybody who supported him about his stand. But that's him, okay. And we have a man who bastardized our constitution, our nation. And they said today he's the lawmaker. All of a sudden, he got a billboard going. But let me start here and come to Coach Q, rethinking Liberia leadership. What should Liberia really look for in a leader? Peter.
Well, again, thanks for this conversation again, yes, Cindy. I'm glad that we are back.
Mhm.
We are. I enjoyed the conversation about our country. Again, we are the stewards of our nation. We are the people that the dreams of our ancestors. We were the ones privy enough to get information um, about the world. I know my grandparents from the village in Grand Jita. They in every village, the dreams of their kids is hopefully they could be educated. That's why our women and our moms and grandmothers would take the lapa off when their children graduate from universities, colleges, high schools, and achieve academically. And congratulations to you on Yasendi.
Thank you,
I know
Peter.
Lisa. I know Lisa's graduated yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I know you're very, very proud
I am.
because I know I would be.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of her too for
Thank you.
making us proud.
Yes.
So this is all mothers, fathers, family members, and the reason for that is information matters. Information matters. Information is literally what separates us from animals. Our ability to reason, think, make decisions, plan, and to be intentional about the future based on the information we have. So those of us who know better, better is expected of us. Um, to whom much is given, much should be expected.
Correct.
And sitting on the sideline is not optional. It's not okay. It's actually you are actually abdicating the responsibility that you have as a Liberian, especially those who will be watching and listening. We are the privileged ones. We must not let that escape us. Um, those moms selling in the market with their babies who came from school on the floor on that wet, dirty flies ridden markets. Those moms, this is what they want for their children. They want their babies to hopefully one day be able to say, I too have information, and with this information, I can change the lives of my family members. And we're supposed to do this with not just our family members, but our greater family members, our community, our entire nation. So I'm glad that we are able to share whatever little bit we know, and hopefully other people will join in and we can talk about how a nation ought to be and what direction we should move in and for what reason we should pick those, make those decisions. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. We talk about leadership because leadership really truly does matter. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're back, but I want us to start there and talk about um, where we should go as a country and have a conversation about where we should where we should be leading. How should we pick these leaders and why should it matter? So I'm not sure if you can hear me. So I guess I'll just get started with where I wanted to start. And I wanted to first examine the way we pick leaders now. And the first thing I wanted to shine the spotlight on is we literally always look to see what connections we have with this person, whether it's tribal, whether it's religious, this person is a Christian, this person is a Muslim, um, some connection. So we are looking not for the greater good, but how does it personally benefit me? Since government is supposed to serve the greater good, well, when I speak of greater good, I'm talking about what's best for the entire community and the greater community, which is our country. How would the decisions that we make best serve the community? When we replace that mindset with a dogmatic mindset, which is I am picking this person because of some reasons that doesn't quite serve everybody, because of some reasons that serves me and is particular to me and the people who are like me, not what serves everyone. When we are picking leaders like that, we are going nowhere fast. And for a very, very long time, I'm saying to this day, we still talk about tribal lineage. We still talk about class connections. Class was with the True Whig Party. It was a class system. It was literally a caste system where people who came from places didn't go to certain schools were not put in positions of authority, of decision making. And the reason that is not a good thing is because we know that the way nations built, the way the world moves, is the more brains you have around the table, the more diversity of ideas you have around the table, the better that marketplace of idea, the richer it is. So when you are arbitrarily, dogmatically excluding people, oh, they're not the right religion, they're from a different tribe, and it's not based on merit, that means the qualities of that person, what they're capable of doing, is what I mean when I say merit. When it isn't based on merit and true objective competition, you're never going to get the best results. And this is what we've seen in Liberia so far. And that's something that I want us to really look at. Um, are you saying this person, oh, this person is from Lova, this person is from the Southeast, this person is from the Northwest, this person, is that how we should pick leaders? What I would contend is that there is no country that's successful that is picking leaders solely based on dogmatism. And that's what we do way too much of in Liberia. We need to ask hard questions. We need to vet our leaders. We need to select leaders based on merit because we need the best people forward. Not because of someone, oh, this person lived here for a long time. Well, that hasn't served any community or any society. And the truth of the matter is, we are continuously doing the same type of picking and expecting something else to happen. And that's not how it works. It's never going to work like that. You're muted. I was just waiting for you to get back.
I'm muted. Thank you so much for those of you who have already tuned in. Sis Marie, thank you for being here. Please share the video. I know we are used to drama. This is not, we're not here to amplify the drama. Every now and then we will bring it to you. But we're here to kind of do the reorientation, sort of kind of to kind of paint the picture what's possible. Um, we are both educated. Hopefully, Paul can come on so he can speak from the security standpoint, army standpoint, where we are as a nation. And since your master should be turned, I think she's been busy. But Peter, thank you for the acknowledgement for my daughter. I'm super proud of her. You know, I advocate for women and children, especially my daughters, especially our daughters. Um, Speaking of our daughters, and I tell people in my family, my lineage, my mother siblings did not have an opportunity, or the women in her family did not have an opportunity to go to school because they were women. They were considered other people's properties, and they'll say that's what culture dictates. Okay, culture is man-made. It's a belief that is set forth. Sometimes it limits us. Sometimes it keep us, together. So my mom was the first to go to pay her school as she was having children to go to school, finish high school. I'm the first woman in my family to go to grad school. Proudly, I can say that. Okay, and go back to grad school. And we'll continue to change. Hopefully, I will be the first woman to get. I don't know, but I'm working on it. But yesterday, I was so proud of my little girl. That's the last of my 4 babies, and she graduated honors. We have been big about academics because she's a little person. She also work in sports and very competitive, very competitive. But what she want to do, we told her she can play any sport, she can do anything, but she have to balance it. Her brain have to be more than where, her leg can move forward, her arm can move forward, all of that. And she delivered. And because she delivered, I am super proud. For those of you who say women cannot be anything they want, I've seen a woman astronaut. I've seen a woman principal. I've seen a woman president. I've seen a woman engineer. In fact, there are a lot of Liberian girls that are graduating this summer, engineers, in different field. That's just a different STEM position, all right? And it's like you open the floodgate and you see the potential of our children. So we rethink everything in Liberia because leadership is not only about the people who sit at the seat of the government. It's how we run our homes, how we interact with each other. But I wanted to come this way full circle to talk about women. Today we lost I think it was yesterday, the former first lady, Madam Nancy Bidu. Okay, I think it's Nancy born because her brother is born. Do she will be one of the when I was growing up because when I was a little girl, from about maybe 1 to about 9, I didn't see the other first ladies. No disrespect to anyone, okay? As Peter just explored and said, um, class system, caste system, tribalism. Kanye, we want to be the Kanye has a gender. There's no national gender in Liberia. So I wanted to acknowledge I had an opportunity to hang out with some of those children to actually from the early, I would say 2011, 2012, 2013, until my father died. I hang out with some of her children, um, crossed from Georgia to what do you call it, North Carolina, South Carolina, to Ivory Coast, to Virginia, trying to bring Nevadians and Grandidia together, especially children who were born and belong to both tribes, for for us to find that place and not allow people to use us against each other because we are too strong people in Liberia that we come together, we can bring the rest of the nation together. But I want to say to the children and the people of Liberia, my sympathy. I believe very much like my mother, especially my biological mother, I can relate how far she came when she grew up in a time where women weren't allowed to go to school. Our English was not, people used to laugh at you if you didn't speak English. I remember when I was growing up in our house, we could speak our tribe. Peter, I don't know, you were not in Liberia, but in my auntie house, you didn't speak tribe because when you spoke tribe, you were considered country, meaning uncivilized. When they call you country in Liberia, they were not saying, like, in America, when they say country, we're talking about somebody who is homebred or homebred, who is come from up interior. When the Liberian man calls you country, they mean you're uncivilized, you're uneducated. It's actually demeaning, degrading. Let me just tell you that. For that woman to have, just answer the call, learn, learn the English, navigate her way, speak to the people, make herself available. Yeah, somebody wrote today in the newspaper, and I'm not gonna go into it because we're gonna stay on the leadership stuff. So I want to say to the people of Liberia, you have my sympathy to all of our man and Sido. Take your rest. It has been a long journey. Now you can be with your husband. Okay. God bless. Peter, I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna let you take it from there. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah. So
I know I
um
veer off completely outside the topic, but I wanted to acknowledge her. I really wanted to. As a woman, as a child of Liberia, I'm sorry. And as somebody who saw her, I remember the first time, so I repeated, I'm coming in, that Christmas tree was lit in Liberia. And the thing is, she looks like my mother. She looks like my auntie. She looks like me. She looks like my grandmother, her lapa, her hair tie. She didn't have on stockings and gloves and stuff. She was representation of the majority, that it was okay to wear lapa and be in the upper place. That it was okay to wear your little, we call it now in America, thongs, those slippers. It was okay to do that. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say. Sis Brooke, welcome. Go ahead, Peter.
yeah, so this the segue um into what we're talking about, which is leadership. How do we pick leaders, and why are we picking what seems like the wrong leaders over and over? When you hear Liberians talk, a lot of times they will say, God needs to come and help us. We can't. Everybody's the same. Every leader is the same. Is it true that every leader is the same, or are we using the same metrics to pick these people? So therefore, getting the same type of people. We will all admit that the people we've been picking haven't really served the country. If the purpose of the government is to uplift the living standard of the people who are there and to protect them and to provide for them, we can all agree that just looking at our country, just a quick glance at the landscape, we can easily and quickly see that the government has done an abysmal job. Not only have they done an abysmal job at building the nation and the people, those people in leadership have been allowed to take the lion's share of anything that we could have had that would have helped the general public. Right? I was watching a video before we came on, and there was a guy talking about Joseph Boyka's daughter lives in a community and it's fenced off, and he's talking about her compound. The question is, why does she get to live like a queen in our country? And his complaint was the road right next to the compound. It is horrible. And he's talking, saying, if the rainy season comes and there's an emergency, no car is able to get here. And here you are in this big compound and you haven't touched this road. So someone could die because the cars cannot come in and out. And you haven't taken care of that. Again, how do we get to pick such people to have their hand on our national treasure? And this is what I wanted to look at tonight. The
Okay.
first thing I wanted to talk about is the things that we use to pick leaders. So I picked the first thing is dogma, tribalism, some connections as people is what we look at. For as long as we do that and we continue to pick leaders based on how you relate to that person, how you're connected to that person, and how it can serve just you and your family, when the next person comes that does not serve your interest, does not serve your family, then you and your family then becomes a victim because you didn't pick the community and the country first. You worry about yourself, and that time is very, very, very temporary. We need to remember that. When you build systems, the system helps everybody, regardless if you're in power or you're not in power.
Right.
The next thing I wanted to point out, Yasendi, is we look at leaders and we ask for philanthropy.
Yep.
Let me explain what philanthropy is.
Yep.
Um, Philanthropy is literally looking for someone with of privilege, of means, to give you handouts, to play Santa Claus, to help you, to give you something. Well, philanthropy, there's no country that I know of that has been modernized or that has been industrialized that picked their leaders in such a fashion. Well, if you look at nations that are developed and they're not picking leaders because he built a hospital or because he built a school first, maybe that's not part of the litmus test that we should use. Maybe that shouldn't be a criteria.
Mhm.
Okay. So the part of what I talk about often is how do we ever look at other people? We're in a global community, right? Do we ever? I think part of the problem that we have in Liberia is not just civic education, but the fact that we think just in the Liberian box. You often hear Liberian people say, "Oh, Liberian politics is unique or is different."
Mhm.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. And the people who will say that often haven't studied another country. Okay, you could go from Ecuador to anywhere in Southeast. You could go to Vietnam, emerging democracy, any of the South American countries. You look at any country like Brazil, you will see similarities. Even the United States had the same issues. Let's talk about philanthropy. Before in American culture, in American government, and this is in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They had these things called political machines.
Yep.
What the political machines was exactly what we have in Liberia.
Yep. They are.
It's exactly what they have in South American countries and Central American countries. The exact same thing. What is that? There are people of privilege who get into government. They bribe people. They practice grifting. That is stealing money. You know what Mo Ali
Yeah.
does?
Please expand. Yeah, expand on that grafting. I beg you. We call
Yeah.
you graft or grafting. Yes, please.
Okay. I'll
Make
go
make
into
it
that.
simple, Peter. Make it
Yeah.
simple. Hmm.
So they practice. They they're corrupt. They practice grifting. Let me talk about what grifting is. Grifting is, say, for example, not for example, the government has money. Okay. How does the government have money? Well, our country have resources, whether it's our diamond, our gold, people paying taxes. For whatever reason, there are a lot of means that the government acquire money. It's not a lot of money in the case of Liberia, but we have money to spend us on something. So the question is, what are we going to spend this money on? So let's say what Mo Ali says. Okay, I'm going to buy Palu and I'm going to build. The people need water in this village. Okay. The truth of the matter is, the water center that you're building actually cost $19,000 US dollars. That's the actual amount. Muhammad Ali comes and says, this water is going to cost $125,000. And I dug a hole 8 times the length of what is required to dig. Grifting is and he does that to charge to surcharge the country and says this is how much this project cost me. When the truth of the matter is, him and the people he works with and the contractors are going to take over $100,000 of the money we need for other projects and put it in their pockets. It seems legal because they're submitting paperwork saying we spent $30,000 on water containers, when the truth of the matter is they only spend $7,000 on water containers. But the regular Liberians wouldn't know that. So when you taking money and you're lying about a legitimate project, what is spent on a legitimate project that people are going to say, oh, that's a good project. When you lie on how much you're spending, that's grifting. You're taking money off the top. You're telling that the project costs more money than it actually did. This is what Mo Ali does. This is what he's done. This is what a lot of Liberians do. This is why they want to be government. This is why when you hear this minister is stealing, this other minister is stealing, that's how they steal. That's one of the methods they use to steal. It's not like they're out there stealing. They just lie and write paperwork to say something costs more than it actually did, and have the Liberian people, the Liberian government, cut them a check, and the person they're working with, the entity or the contractor, will get a kick, give them the extra money, and it's all worked in. And they get the
Yep.
contractors to say, actually, they get the contractors to say the price of the item is way more money.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if they're going to get a car, the car actually is going to cost $27,000. They could say, tell them that it costs $45,000. That extra money they give the contractor some, the car dealership some, and they keep both of them. That's grifting. That was practiced in the United States a lot.
Yep.
It was practiced by a group of people called political machines because it was like a machine. It was a syndicate running. This is in the great United States, people. When America was doing that, America was poor. They
Right.
were broke. Early 1900s. Okay. Now until the war did America start to make money. And I can explain why the war cost helped America make money. I'm talking about World War One when other countries was being bombed.
What is money
Okay.
business? Yes. Go ahead. I'm
So
listening to you.
the point I'm making is
Go ahead.
the point I'm making is that that structure, that functionality has never worked for anywhere. The more you do that, the poorer you are going to be as a nation. And this is what we're doing. So everything that's happening in Liberia has happened other places. Okay. I forget the country in South America that had a civil war. It was brutal. It's going to come to my mind in a second. I think it's Ecuador. It was brutal. They had a war crimes court, and the war crimes court convicted a few people, and the citizens wanted those people to go to jail, but because the person who was elected was connected to one of them, so he pardons them. So now the civil war hasn't ended. The people feel like they're still. I'm pretty sure it's Ecuador. I can recheck. But what I'm saying is the same process happened over and over and over again. Okay, Argentina, Chile, they have the same thing. A group of people you give power to, they steal money because there's no accountability. When we are picking leaders, based on philanthropy, okay, that means this person built a hospital. This person did this, did that. It's not going to work because only a few people have that type of resource to do projects for people. And you're not picking the best leaders then. You're just picking the most convenient leader or someone who can help you. Well, that person can help you. The next person won't. So now your life or the lives of your family members, it's not going to improve. The country as a whole is not going to improve. And this is what we've done in Liberia over and over and over again. And we expect something different. No, it's not going to change. And every other place that did the same thing that we're doing now was not improving. Okay. So tribalism, class system, all those dogmas, because person relates to it, doesn't work. When you're picking people based on philanthropy, oh, did you build road? What have you done for Liberia? When you were this, what did you do? It is not how you pick leaders. Okay, that's the second thing we do, and it's the second point I want to make Yes, Andy. You're muted again.
Okay, here I am. The point really clear, guys. You heard Peter. If we we're choosing, I think I talked about this before we last Tuesday, not this Tuesday, Tuesday before last, and I said to you, if you're electing leader because you want to go back to beg them, you want a leader that you can walk in the office that you know, like you can go and sit in the office and show off in front of everybody, then you're not choosing for the nation. You're choosing for you. You're choosing somebody that you can beg. You're not choosing for somebody that can. So the Peter said, philanthropies, charity purposes, see words. Maybe we can spend more. Okay. And that's what Liberia does. We yell about, oh, you want somebody to come? The other day I talk about my encounter 3 years ago with Ambassador Young here, Andrew Young, the first Black ambassador to the United Nations. And I was telling where he told us what they did with Martin Luther King after they had gone to Washington and came back. And I said, maybe it's time to get off the talking and maybe put our names in the hat. Saying we have protocol and have an idea what kind of country we want. Okay, we can create new group of people, or new group of people can buy in. All right, and this philosophy can continue, but we will need people where the application at the table to be able to implement the things that need to impact our country to change. You know, I tell people, I hear everybody talking about the little boy, the young man in Burkina Faso. I call him little boy, not to be disrespectful, but that's for with admiration for a very young person. My daughter will be 40 years old. So if I call it 37 or 34 years old, it's not to be derogatory, but to be that's with admiration that he's young to be the youngest African leader now. Okay. And in less than 2 years, all right, he has built a gold reserve that will back their country. He had declared education free. Every nation that have changed, the first thing they invested in was the human capital. Peter, is that a true statement? What's the human capital? Because when you build the people will build their country. That's the way it is. When America struggled the Great Depression, when FDR wanted to put aside to give money out to impact and uplift the people, some of the other leaders, governors, because we elect our governors, they say, no, we are not a socialist country. We don't think if you have money to give to us, that we decide how we're going to distribute that money, how we're going to invest it. He said, no, the federal government will take that. And guess what the federal government did? It hired millions. Maybe next week I'll tell you how much million. I said it here before, but everything I say in my brain today, I had a long weekend. And it was people with the lowest skills to hire them, because those were the people who were harder to get to job. Guess what it did? That had the park system that we're renting today came to be. Okay, road work, side work. That's why it came to be. So with those young people between 18 and 25 that they hire with lower skills, okay, it empowered them, and it started, it ignited the engine of the economy. If you go to South Korea, the scene. If you went to Tanzania, where John McAfee 8 years ago when he took over, it was the scene. So that's the first place to start from. If we want to hire people because they are what tribe, okay, like I say, the next couple of weeks we will be home. I'm coming for Jeremiah Crown and his hospital and his people. And I know the Nima people will be in my inbox. You're lucky you can disown me. That the place where I was born. You ain't got no choice. Okay? And I will deal with that later. Okay? So Joseph Boaka, who could not afford yesterday to pay his own hospital fee. He could not afford to travel. The last time he went to Ghana, Alexander Cummings paid. When he fed up with Alexander Cummings, it was Tenton and Costa. Now his daughter is a philanthropist. Okay. She living in a mansion with a fence. She has a job at one of the agencies making almost $5,000 a month, maybe more. The sun now is flying at the top of the Burj Khalifa from Nigeria, hanging out with the big people. Why you, the people? So this is where we come.
Is that the son, the one that the rapist that was raping people in China? I'm just asking a question.
Can you say allegedly?
No, no, he raped a girl. He's got a charge in China.
Really? With
2010. 100%. And it's an open secret. Everyone knows it. I want
2010?
yes, in China. I want him to sue.
We need to find that out. We need to find. So Peter, I'm gonna stop right here and I'm gonna come back to you. But I start with rethinking. We're talking about rethinking leadership in Liberia. And Peter spoke about if you're choosing leaders because you want them to build bridges. And that's why they don't do anything for you when you go. Because they show you they can do it. Okay. So they go borrow and come to you. Now all of them. And everybody don't have that kind of resource. If that's the case, then Bill Gates would be president of Liberia. Zuckerberg, I mean America. Zuckerberg would be president of the United States. Okay. In America, you don't see a lot of people with doctorate degree trying to be president. They are in research and development. Those are the engines that bring a new idea to the table to keep the world going. Peter, I'm going to leave that to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so great point. So I want to touch on a couple of things you talk about. How you talk about the United States after World War II. They had the engine and the country was vibrant. Picking leadership, patriotism. Patriotism really, really matters in picking leaders. And let me bring this to bear. The reason why this conversation is important to me is because it's not just to have the conversation. I'm hoping to spark a debate, or maybe not a debate, conversation that I'm literally begging all those in the sound of my voice to press other people who will listen to you to have this conversation. Without this conversation being held, we are not going to get a better country because leadership matters. It really does. And the process in which we use right now to select leaders has never worked for anyone. Not only is it not working for Liberia, it never has worked for anyone, anywhere. No one can point to us and say, look at this country. They pick a leader because he built this, this, and this, and look how well they're functioning or how well they're prospering. Nowhere has it worked. What you do know is people who are patriots, those people selected as leaders work. So let me define what I mean by patriotism. As much as a lot of us don't agree with Donald Trump, he puts his people first. It might not be just all of America. Okay. The people who are like him, he puts them first to the detriment of everyone else. I'm not advocating that we go and harm anyone who's not Liberian, but we literally need to listen to the person who's leading. What have this person done to show patriotism? That means the children of Liberia, the future of Liberia. What about them? We are very good people at discerning who we're talking to. Liberian people are very, very politically inclined. We need a patriotic leader. That means a person who will put the country over themselves, over their personal gain. When you are selecting a leader, ask yourself, will this person sacrifice for the greater good of this community or this greater community called Liberia? Will this person do that? And I will say to you, if we had asked that question about the last three leaders, that's with Ellen and George Weah and the person we have now, we would have said a resounding collective no. They would not sacrifice for Liberia. Not to say things didn't happen to them because they were in Liberia, but they didn't do it for the sake of Liberia or the regular Liberians being better. If Ellen was to do that, we would have had a drastically different country. What do I mean by that? You would have seen if she was really about uplifting Liberia, just like Yasendi just said, she would have studied how nations are built. She would have studied that. And she would have learned that the first thing I must invest in is human capital. That means our children. She would have spent so much money in getting the best teachers and the best learning environments together. And her policies would have been around uplifting the nation. It would have been about alleviating, okay, assuaging the biggest burdens that Liberian have. She would have done something about shelter, built real homes. Everything I'm saying is not something I'm making up. Anyone who studied nation building, this is the process they follow. You first attack human capital. You shouldn't be advocating or running to lead when you haven't mastered that, the science of that, and demonstrated that you're understanding that by taking interviews and allowing anyone to ask you questions without them feeling threatened about hows, the hows, and the whats. So she should have invested in the children first. That would have told you everything you need to know. Not only that, but she was very ambitious. Let's talk about how she left Liberia. Okay, after she won the senatorial seat, and why she didn't accept the seat, and how she went about saying, "I will show you who I am." That arrogance should never have been selected as a leader. Okay, a person willing to bring guns and kill Liberians so that they can gain something should never have been selected. Okay, so when I said Ellen's like, oh, she's educated. Educated in what? Not something that helps the general public or lift the nation. There are a lot of people educated. There are educated people in jail. There are educated people working on the farm. They're educated about farming. When it comes to government and building a nation, she's not educated in it because she didn't demonstrate that in no way, shape, or form at all. And she had chances after chances to do it. She had the capital to do it. She had the resources. She had the security to do it. And she couldn't execute. She was not who we should have selected. After Ellen, we had George Weah. Not who we should have selected. Again, based on the same criteria. Does he understand how a nation is built? Is he a patriot? What sacrifices was he willing to make for the country? And don't tell me, oh, when he had money, he gave people scholarships. That's philanthropy. That's not how you built a nation. Okay? You're doing it for individuals. That doesn't build a nation. You cannot articulate how you plan on building this unique nation. He couldn't. Oh, I built houses. I built the Military 14 Hospital. Again, self-aggrandizement, right? He's building something, putting his name on it, putting a statue up. That's not a person we should have selected or elected to lead. This man cannot have a conversation about nation building and give you examples about how or what he's going to do and why it correlates to Liberia and who has done it successfully. We should never have selected that person. He's not a patriot. A patriot would literally not buy all these cars and break down his home and build a new home for him before the children of Liberia have a school and have someplace to lay their heads. That should be the first thing they should think about. What's best for this country, not what's best for me and my family, and manipulate people and use the love that they have for him to enrich himself and hijack a revolution or a true revolution that should have happened to the regular people of Liberia. And now we have Joseph Boyka. Does not take an interview, never, manipulative, cunning, okay, does not respect the rule of law, does not respect the lives of Liberian people. You've never heard him spoke passionately or speak passion about anything that related to the suffering of Liberian people unless it was election time. He has never done anything to help Liberia. He could have proposed policies. He could have used the bully's puppet he had for 12 years with Ellen to say something, to do something. He did nothing. He is not a patriot. We should never have picked that person. We should look for patriotism. And the way you know a patriot is how they speak and how passionate they are about uplifting people who don't even know them or they don't even know. How passionate are you about it? And how knowledgeable are you about executing that task? Okay, these are things that we should start looking at. And I have other things I want to talk about, but patriotism is my first pillar that I will first place. I want to plant a flag. He must be a patriotic leader, and he must have knowledge on how to execute, how other people have done it, and how he plans on doing it based on the obstacles that he's going to face in our country. That means they have to thought about this process deeply. They had to have introspective about how they're going to execute this deeply and profoundly. And you know that by how they speak, about how their house and what and the steps that they're going to take. Patriotism is the first thing I would say look for.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. So the how. I will look at a few things here myself. What are some of the characteristics? Maybe tonight, Peter, we can take call, maybe a few calls if people are here. Let me acknowledge a few persons since you're already on. I will start with Brother Ellis, Ibrahim Ellis, my brother. George, we are best friend and big brother. Says Marie Pratt, always here and on time. The political nurse who advocate for maternal health in Liberia, and Sis Ruth Bangba. Thank you for what you do. I know we cried this week about Shimseda, and we both talked about her who died this week. Sis Rebecca, a strong advocate for Liberia, for a better Liberia, for patriotism. I want to say thank you for being here, all of you. Please share. Some of you have been sharing. We appreciate you. So let's take a walk on where we need to be at. Okay. Where we need to be at. What are some of the characteristics we're going to look at? You're looking in where America is going right now. You're looking at where the rest of the world is going, where Bill Camparis is right now, where Africa is going through. I think all leaders need to study history. You know, I think it's Frederick Douglass that said, or Du Bois that said, a man without his past is like a tree without a root. You don't grow because you don't know where you come from. Eventually, you're going to die. And it's also Frederick Douglass that said, knowledge make a man unfit to be a slave. Even your Bible that you're studying, it says, for the lack of knowledge, our people perish. Those are all true. All right. You see, in America, majority of the people who have become president, they were one lawyers or business owner. In American business, those who go to school for business, they study the rest of the world, how the rest of the world functions. I'm telling you that because I went to business school. Okay. They study the economy. They study finance. They study history, not just their history. They study how the rest of the world have built their culture, how their culture impact, okay? And we call it in business, inculturation, okay? How those come together to build those nations. So they study extensively. You see, FDR was a businessman, okay? And he set the tune, they call it the rebirth of America under him after Lincoln, okay? So let's go ahead and see this. One thing that we should look for in a leader, first, integrity. This word is used so loosely in Liberia, Peter, that it agitates me every time integrity is used. This person has integrity, I can. No integrity in a damn country. I'm sorry. 99.8% of your leaders are corrupt, financially corrupt, morally corrupt, and you will call it your culture. And that's a true statement. I can see that based on allowing 250,000 and literally SAE over 500,000 of your girls. Today, most of the violent SA cases in Liberia are both Salome and the other way. Both. But you're the first people that will be running all over Facebook and calling people the G word. Okay? And I will speak to that. Including allegedly your president's son, allegedly your vice president, and I'm coming for all of them. All right? Now, integrity is doing the right thing at all times whether someone is looking, whether it benefits you or not. That is integrity. That's the simplest ABC answer to it. Doing the right thing, whether it will be bad for you or it good for you, but doing the right thing. That's what integrity is. Most of you don't have it. Don't use that word loosely. Another thing is competence. Your leader must be agile. You don't have it. How do you determine that? They have to have records. The people you're bringing, what record that they have? Besides, listen, you can be on a job in Liberia. There's no measurement of your work, no performance monitor, no key performance indicators. Liberia is a talking country, all right? The way we will know that you are functional, that you are delivering, it will be by the quality of life. Your impact will be felt by the people. You don't have to tell them, okay? They don't need to be told. The people do not need to be told that the economy is expanding. They don't have to be told that they're being uplifted, okay? It's something that you feel, okay? And it will show in the atmosphere. There will be security. This morning, Peter, I sent you a video where a motorcyclist was pushed up for his motorbike. If there was improvement, you're running around going to look for road building where we're taking loan for that were already in process 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I drove on Roberts Field Highway for the last 10 years doing the same work that had taken Traore more than that to do in less than 2 years. Everybody getting a cut. All right? Another thing that you need to do, I talked about what? Integrity, okay? I talked about competence, and I'm talking about vision. You know the difference between even Namibia, Botswana, Tanzania. John McAfee came with a vision. He said, I want my country to be middle class, or at least heading that way in my first term. Then the people will give me an opportunity for a second term to take my nation to have a middle class. What I'm going to do, we will reduce traveling. Okay? There will be none of our leaders, ministers are going to Dubai to go shop. They are not going to the United Nations in droves. We will ride the economy class or economic class because until we can get to that point to own our own plane. The country is not buying car for minister. If the money you make is not enough to buy you car, buy you a motorcycle or leave the job and go into private sector. He said, when he took over 2015, he said, listen, you have to be people-centered. He said, Colorado is all over on the rampant and killing my people. We cannot celebrate independence. We're not independent. We will put our money into healthcare. That's where McAfee did. You see why McAfee name spread like overnight? That's the same thing with this young man. The first thing this young man came is where he named Traore. He said, our daughters, there will be no childhood marriages. Our daughters will go to school. The first age of consent will be 18. They will finish high school. They will enjoy their childhood. He said, I don't mind you practicing your religion. He said, I'm Muslim. You can study to be Muslim, but you should not choke the other person because they're Christian. There will be no religious war here. We will coexist. Serve your God, let them serve their God. If they don't want to be Christian, they don't want to be Muslim, they want to be pagan, they want to be atheist, that is that what I want you to have respect for their decision. This is a 37-year-old boy, but here is the difference. He understands service. He has served all of his life. He was in the Darfur. He has been a peacekeeper. He's also an engineer. A lot of people don't know that. He's a geologist. He's an engineer. So he's a brilliant young man. And he also studied history. You can tell based on his output, slavery, the transatlantic slavery. He talks about these things with profound insight. That's why you need a leader. You also need humanity, okay? Not humility. You need humanity. You have to be people centered. You got to be human and let people see you are. And you have to be humble. That's humility. Okay. Peter talked about Ellen, the arrogance, when she did not take a seat, when she walked away. My uncle won in that election. Is the late Bumbly. And they asked him not to take a seat. He took a seat. Ellie never spoke to her. I mean, to him. That is the fact. It's in Liberia. Elijah Bumbly, he died, I think 5 months ago. So, Peter, I'm going to start on some of the characteristics because I talk enough. And I will talk about accountability, okay, over popularity or over wealth. And in the, I said over. So, Peter.
Yeah, so you'll touch on popularity. I was going to touch that, but I'll leave that for you.
No, but go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about that. Popularity
So,
over, yeah. Accountability over popularity. Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so one of the things that we do in Liberia, and we continue to, the reason why we continue to pick the same type of people, again, I'm begging you guys to initiate this conversation with all the, the, the stakeholders that you know that listens to you. We need to examine how we pick leaders. Okay. When you start picking people because they're popular, how does that serve the country? How? How is that going to bring one red penny to our country? How is that going to lift one child out of poverty because you pick someone only because they are popular? And here's the thing. Because they're popular, what usually happens, that person knows that. And because they know that, what they do is they use that to intimidate and become a conversation terrorist. So now, because they're so popular, you can't even press them on an issue. You can ask. Henry Costa wants to be a leader, wants to be a president in our country, for God's sake. Costa wants to be a president. Why? How? How is that going to help our children? Do you truly believe a person like that, Prophet Key wants to be a president, is able to understand the laughter? Is just, to me, the Prophet Key is no, Joseph Boyka is no different than Prophet Key or Henry Costa. There's no different. They have the same amount of information. They have the same type of delivery. They have the same anything you can think about as far as how it benefits the country. So to me, there's no difference. I don't scoff at him wanting to be a leader. I think it's the same thing as 99% of people want to be a leader. What are you going to add to this table? What do you really believe that a person like Costa would not take money? And if someone offers him $20 million and it hurts people he doesn't know, that's the integrity you talked about. Patriotism, true patriotism has great integrity. And it doesn't matter who's watching, who's not watching. I'm going to do the right thing. When you're picking a leader, do you truly believe that person will do the right thing when no one can see him, or he cannot be held accountable? The leaders who we've had, the last three, I cannot say that. And when we talk about, there was nothing wrong with Ellen being ambitious. There's nothing wrong with her saying, well, the election was rigged, so I'm not taking a seat. There's nothing wrong with that. But the arrogance about, I'm going to show you who I am. And that's where she get the Iron Lady's name from. Like, how dare you? Wanted to be a leader so badly. You had everything given to you. And you failed. I'm not the one saying it. You said it. You say you lost the battle against corruption. Well, you're not fit to lead. Everyone cannot be a leader. It's not about education. Leadership, you have to have a lot of qualities. And you didn't have whatever Liberia needed at the time. You did not have that. The rampant corruption and the fact that you couldn't build systems. You couldn't build systems. For those of us, and this is another thing, right? Speaking of popularity, Mo Ali is quick, and Liberian people are quick to say this, especially if they're serving government. Who knows you? Who knows you? I would take that and put it back on your lap, Marley. What do you know? Forget who. Let's talk about what. Can you talk about other nations and how they were able to build their country? Where did it come from? And tell us some statistics about it. Because that's what the world cares about is your knowledge. That's what makes you sapient human. Is your knowledge. It's your intellect and the amount of information you have in the thing, the task that you're undertaking. So these people are quick to say, well, I am more popular than you. What does that matter? Why does that matter? Robert Bangura is popular. Should he go be president too? I mean, what are we talking about here? Okay, so integrity does matter, and it ties in with patriotism. Would this person put Liberia first? That's what the kid from Burkina Faso is doing. When you talk about gold, I don't even like to go into it because I don't want the CIA assassinating me and my family. But yeah, he got to figure it out. It's about the gold. It's always been about the gold. Go ask the Mayans and the people from Guatemala. It's about the gold. It's always going to be about the gold. And the good thing is we have gold in Liberia. We'll get to gold on another day. Okay, the leader does have to be extremely informed on how the nation will come together, and the way you demonstrate you're informed is by telling us what correlation does what we are going through. What correlation does it have in another country or countries? Let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the correlation between Liberia's state where we are and how other nations were able to do it. That has been intentional about learning about what you want. We need an intentional leader. And when you say have a vast knowledge about stuff and speak profoundly about it, that if a leader is confident and is truly a leader, Cindy, they will do what Cummins did. Go on in live, say, ask me any questions. Ask me the hows, the whens, and with the who's. And I will tell you timelines. I will tell you why I believe it's going to work. When was the last time, George, we had took a press conference and just asked me questions? When was the last time Joseph Boycott went on the radio? He literally takes trips around the world doing whatever, and his people would say you only have 3 questions to ask him. That's a dictator. That's a man who's afraid. That man is unfit to lead. And people are like, oh, he's an old man. Don't say nothing to the puppet. Does the puppet care about our children? Is his life more important than my child's life or our children's life or someone else's child's life? Because he's old, so he gets to destroy their life? On what planet? Isn't this how wars are fought? Isn't this why people go into battle? You're literally playing a con game. He doesn't have it. That's why he's so afraid for people to ask him. Okay? So when you guys are picking leaders, put them on the hot seat often. Ask them a bunch of questions about how you're going to do it. Where? Where has it worked? When did it work? Who did it work for? How is this similar to Liberia? We have to ask those questions. If we don't, because this is a global economy, we are literally competing for scarce resources. You have to understand this is competition. You got to care about your family. It's like a man has his children that are starving and he cares about wearing Louis Vuitton belt and Gucci. Nobody will respect him. Nobody. And Liberia wants to be on the Security Council, the UN Security Council, that only have 3 seats reserved for African nations. 3! The nation that burned down the Capitol building because they're disputing who should be speaker thinks they should talk and teach people how to solve problems, global problems, how to bring peace to the world. They believe that someone's going to select them and say, as if these people who make the selection don't do any research. That is so disrespectful to the process and the intellect of the people during the elections. I'm from Liberia, and I won't pick them to lead, to be on the Security Council. I wouldn't even pick them to be the community chairman for a dispute between two houses. It's two zinc houses that's having problems. The UN Security Council, and here we are raising money, wasting money, lying to our people, and not too many people want to speak truth to power. Well, when you don't tell the truth and you don't speak up, you're literally betraying our children because they look up to us and they trust we'll protect them. They trust we'll protect them. They believe that. That's why they're okay with us yelling. It's as if we're talking about what John Locke says. The reason why government is legitimate because the people give the government that legitimacy. All the things that Joseph Boycott does, all the things that Trump does, the reason why they're able to do that, lock us up, put us in jail, is because we're saying we will give up some of our freedom for you to protect us
Mhm.
when you no longer can protect us. Okay, John Locke says it. It's time to get rid of that government. If you can't provide for our children's future, you should not be in that position. And you should be willing to put everything on the line. Speak truth to power. We selected the wrong person. Everyone knows it. We did. Okay. One last thing. Philosopher kings. This is where I want to end at on this topic. Liberia is a republic. Plato talked about a republic after Aristotle was killed. You can't just pick anybody to lead. They must be very informed. In the late, again, when you look at world history, here's what you learn. You learn that there were these people called despots, absolute rulers. They believe their leadership, their ability to lead came from God. God picked us as leaders. That's why we're king. And then they bequeathed that to their family, and it became a birthright. After what was called the Enlightenment, that's when the world became better. Okay, the world became better. The world started to have the scientific revolution, and they started to experiment. The leaders, the world demanded that they become uh, um, enlightened despots. Here's the difference between a despot and an enlightened despot. A despot is just an absolute ruler. He makes all the rules. There are no council telling him anything. An enlightened despot is an educated leader. Same thing Plato was asking for. Philosopher kings. He's saying smart leaders. If we're going to have a democracy, we must have philosopher kings who are patriotic, who looks out for the country as if it's their own children that they are proud of. Not someone who's going to come and suck the lifeblood out of our country and buy uh, $1.2 million cars and $800 suits and $900 shoes because he's never had it before, and just because he's old, expect us to turn a blind eye when we have our mothers dying and their organs taken away in hospitals. How would you feel if that's your mother, if that's your daughter, if that was your wife? When has this man spoken to it? When has his wife spoken to it? You talk about humanity. Where is her humanity? And you want us to respect her for what? What are we talking about here? Do you have any respect for yourself, or are you a slave? Only slaves are okay with that. And nobody respects a slave mind.
Wow, Peter, I'm glad you went into the girl, Jensita, a story. And she left a note. She left a recording that if she dies, she wants an autopsy. She wants her people to ask for autopsy, that her organ was taken. And I hope her wishes are met. Because here it is with Liberia. What's going on with Liberia? We we heard about this young man, Cletus Noah. who were in the last election. When they've been calling him, apparently somebody was supposed to be going to court. He ended up dying. The government said they detect foul play. Okay. The family will go together, write a notarized note to care to the government to say they want their body to bury. They don't want autopsy. So let me say to Liberian people, whenever there is a questionable death, especially with a young person, that is not natural, it is the responsibility, if it's a functioning government, okay, to ask for autopsy. The family don't have to agree. They don't need family signature. They don't need the wife to say. Because what we've done over the years is, if the people in power are the one who think they know what's happening to that person, or the opposite, they will either threaten or they will give bribe for the family to give in. Just like when they unalive somebody by accident, there are no consequence. Whether the person was drunk or driving, so long maybe they're connected. What we're happy is they will go ahead and just give them maybe $1,000. For most Liberian, $1,000 is a lot of money. It tells you that's the value they put on your child. It tells you that's the value they put even on you as a person. All right. I love when Peter talk about where is your humanity. Where's your humanity? When I spoke about that girl, that lady, and I started asking, where is the first lady? The first lady was just acknowledged and crowned as what? A champion, a hero for maternal and maternal health champion. Why has she not spoken? I have some people who I end up I just unfriend them. They can see my post if they want to, because I need my peace. Strategy for me at this point at my age is everything. I don't need your friendship. If we are family, regardless, nothing will happen. And when I said, where is the first lady and these and women are dying? I'm speaking because women have gone to JFK for operation for $175. They will not come up with it. Dr. Richardson and I have to put money together to pay for women. And majority of the time, they end up dying. And your bad luck is if you went to the hospital on the Thursday or Friday to deliver and you don't have money by Friday, Saturday, there's no operation. So you got to wait till Monday. That means if the baby is in distress, that baby is going to be unalive, and that baby core will start getting rotten in your stomach as a woman, and you will be septic. I don't care what they do, even to open you up, you're gonna be unalive. Like, people, y'all got to understand it. For women, and I'm a woman, giving birth, okay, it's a miracle within itself. I have no experience it. It's a miracle within itself. It is the most vulnerable time of any woman, because you're powerless. You can do nothing. You are at the mercy. You know, the last time a woman went to deliver behind the house in somebody's old house, and people were going off on the woman. The woman said she had been delivering women forever and work at JFK. We are passing judgment on her. But the JFK women died there sitting in the chair. They died there in the hallway. They died there waiting for $175 when the U.S. government was giving us $109 million annually for health care while they divide. We have women who the family have called and said, "Sis, y'all did well, but my sister is gone." Then they will seize the body. This is government. Seize the body and ask for $250 before they can release it. So Peter, tell me, if I can pay you $175 to stay alive, or your demand, if I don't, you will sell my body. Now, what's your humanity? I'll talk about humanity here as a leader. We must take accountability over popularity or wealth. Because you have some people who got money. We don't know how they got their money. They will do anything for money. They will overlook you. They will tell your children kidney. They will hire bad people, and you will not matter. But I'm going to come down. Now let's look for the identity. How do we identify? Peter spoke to some here, a leader that Liberia needs at this point. This is not from my lens. This is from a worldview, especially in today's global village, especially today where AI is taking everything. I can clone myself, and you wouldn't know that me or not me. Okay, my little brother got his PhD this weekend. He's an engineer by trade, engineer by degree, has a master's from George Washington. That's how you call it, and got a PhD in programming AI. And I think you people have seen him, right? This is where the war headed. Like, Peter, let me tell you a little bit about that boy. I think you saw our video while we were crying, and you and I had a conversation before. Remember when you talked about coming from Buchanan, going to the. My brother could not speak; he just cried. Even at his dinner honoring, he wrote what he wanted to say, and one of the graduates have to read it for him because he could not believe this is him. I left early after the war. My brother was looking for independence. He could not find a job, and he didn't want to live with my mother. He didn't want to live with my parents. So he got a one bedroom that he was paying $5 for. Even at $5, that child could not afford it. $5 that child, because she was trying. You got young people who want to just be independent. He still has to come to my mom. In less than 4 years in America, he already had a degree. He had a family. In 6 years, he was married. His wife, they finished school together as a doctor. So can you imagine where that dream would have ended up? So you talk about being intentional, right, Peter? Must be intentional. So let's see what we look at. By examining their track records, their values, public service, not just their image or slogan. Okay? We have for a senator for 3 years, and they say he was bobo. You have Joseph Walker for 40 years. That's literally all of my life. All of my adult life. Where I made decision for me. But he said at a time, first time for him. So who first time for your country? Who feeling sorry for your children? When your sister go to JFK, your son listen, y'all take a trip and go to JFK. Y'all know how many of your boys are on a line at JFK? When they go there, they're bending them over. Your sons. Listen, I ain't got no problem with other people being loving who they want to love. I'm a teacher. My business is to love all of my kids, no matter how they come. If they come straight, if they come this, if they come that, I live in an environment that does not even give me a choice. Maybe my love for them will make them look the other way or be secure in a scheme. Okay? But in the last UP government, it's a registered fact. And there was a court case on that, across the street to Susanna, where boys who were not interested in other men were propositioned or were harassed. For them to keep their job, they have to bend over. They got to pick up the soap. Okay? For them to get an increase, they have to pick up the soap. I see your young boys, their video at training. I don't open the car. I'm a teacher. I don't want to plug in my phone at work. People send them to me. Some of y'all minister, I told y'all before, and I called their name here before. But I'm not going to call their name now because my page is monetized. Okay? And if I say, I will say it on the other page when I'm doing my personal stuff. All right? I have them videos sent to me. Some of them are sent to Emmanuel Gwankwe right now in this government, the last government. Majority of your ministers, they have crossed the street to Susanna. Even I went in the country. But I'm ready for you. I'll come for you. You are the one who will look at other people and say that. Peter, remember that little boy who said, when the people say he was gay, he said, you know, you're talking. I will find that video and say it. That country. So how do you identify that? It's their service, the public service record. Their public service record. How have they given? Okay. Now, what we have done is, if you got somebody who have record, even based on their record, what they produce, when you give them $1, they multiply it. When they were giving position, it does not matter, private, public, where they were they able to, we call it, that in leadership we say, or business, the 3 C's. And the 3 C's. Okay, I'm gonna go with the T first. It said transact, transition, and transform. Do they have those in them? Okay. Okay. Do they have it in them? So I will stop here because I can talk forever. I'm going to put a number after Peter and see if your guy input. Guys, let's talk about some of the characteristics that we need to pick our leader. I already told you, okay? We need to examine the track records. We need to see what the values, what value they put on themselves, the public service record, not just their image or the slogan or rhetoric, okay? Do you know me? Do you know who you are? Who have you lifted? Okay, at what level? It wasn't done when it was convenient. All right. Now we talk about vision, competence, integrity, accountability over popularity and wealth, humility and humanity. Peter.
So, opportunities. You just talked about your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, as an educator, this is what we do, right? We look to uplift young people, children, to reach their full potential. And you have to be passionate and intentional about doing that job. If you're not passionate and intentional about it, you don't get to stay very long in that space.
Yep.
It breaks my heart. So when you tell me there was a young man who was in Liberia for a very long period of time, and now has a PhD, how many more are there and just have never received the opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before and I say it again. Don't ever, when these people, so Emmerich was arguing with some guy, passed away.
That beggar. That beggar.
Mm,
But he needed to drag him though, because they're stupid people. Go ahead, Peter.
yeah. So Emmerich was having a back and forth with this pass away guy. And he said something that was that to me was deeper and was more troubling than it is. And I'm glad Emmerich pushed him on that.
Yeah, I'm glad he
And
did.
And what he said was, he said, Emmerich, you are he goes, I'm a government official and you are what did he say? I think he said, you are a unskilled worker.
Jesus.
He goes, I'm not going to argue with you. You are an unskilled worker and I am a government official. You're not on my
Jesus.
level. You're not on my level. I think the guy makes $2,000 a month.
But he came from begging, not even making $100.
Doesn't matter. He
Yeah.
believes that Emmerich must be an unskilled worker. But here's what's troubling about that statement. You're literally looking down on unskilled workers. Unskilled worker is the people who built the bridges that this man's taking selfie with a bridge behind him to show that he's in America. And those are the people who built that, right? Whatever you call unskilled worker. What makes you think you're better? I'm not trying to make fun of the man's money, but you're not better than no one. You 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 make less than people who work at McDonald's, bro. You don't get to look down on people. Okay? Do not mistake lack of opportunity with lack of competence. These people, these kids, And this is what fires me up, and this is what keeps me engaged. All they need is a chance. And we don't have a government that's giving them this chance. We're looking to find someone who's a philanthropy to lead. Well, the people with that type of money are the same type of people who've been exploiting you.
Yep.
So you're going to keep
And they
getting the
stole it
same
from
type
you.
of people.
Hmm.
Okay, that's not how people pick leaders by saying, "Oh, who did what for the country? What did you build?" Like that's not how it works. It works by your everything we just listed. There are a bunch of things. You got to ask questions. You have to vet these people, and you can't be ashamed or afraid to ask hard questions. But the why and sit there and worship them because they're popular. Or someone says, "Oh, this person was vice president before." I don't give a damn. They should have been vice president. They don't have what it takes. They can't compete with their peers on the same level in another country as far as knowledge. Even for a job, a mayor job in America, you have to have a debate. This is how we get to gauge you. This is how you get to vet these people that we don't know. Liberia keeps doing it the wrong way. Okay? Second thing, guys, crime, especially felonies, is against the state. You can't murder someone or harm someone and say, "Oh, I don't want the press charges." No, once you commit a felony, it's a felony. The state takes over.
Right.
You don't get to say, "Oh, go to the family." The family doesn't want to. No, someone died.
Yep. It should not be in the
Honest-
hand of the family.
It is
Yes.
not in the hand of the family since
Never.
Liberia's law is strictly copied from America. This is a copy, so it's not. So when you were saying, "Oh, the family didn't want to press charges," you are an incompetent person to lead because you're making the society unsafe. You shouldn't be leading. You shouldn't be leading.
Right.
Okay, guys. Going back to picking leaders in philanthropy, there were two times America was rich. Like America literally have given us the blueprint, the same blueprint that South Korea has followed, that Saudi Arabia is following, that Philippines has followed, okay, Singapore has followed the blueprint. This blueprint happened in the 1940s. Well, 1929, 1930, 1931. It was called the Great Depression. America literally showed you how you go from being poor to being rich as a nation. This is something I'm very passionate about. There is this place in New York called Levittown. Levittown is a suburb that was built by the American government. Why the American government built that suburb? Mind you, I'm talking about being intentional about leadership. The person we pick must not only have patriotism and integrity, they have to be intentional. They have to have a profound thought about what they're doing. Okay. Levittown was a town built for middle class American and GIs coming back from the war.
Hmm.
It was built for unskilled workers. What did America realize during the Great Depression when people were absolutely killing themselves? They realized the way you lift people out of poverty, yes, you invest in human capital. You make sure your schooling system is very, very, very strong. You eliminate their biggest bill they're going to have. We literally copied the communist playbook. America built homes. That's the biggest bill people have, right? Their mortgage or their rent.
Yep.
America built homes for the people.
Hmm.
The same thing the Chinese do now. The same thing that Singaporeans do right now. Every country, the same thing is going on in Burkina Faso. Every country knows that, intentionally alleviating the burden that people have. They built a whole suburb, moved to it. They subsidized that furniture in there. They give them cars, give them washing machines. America intentionally helped their people get on their feet. Not themselves, not build compounds for their family members or go buy $1.5 million. They built schools where I live. They built 3 schools during the Great Depression. They created jobs for their people. They created jobs for their people. They were extremely intentional about that. We don't have a government that does that. The 2 times America was rich was during what was called the Roaring Twenties. Again, why were they rich? America invented this thing called credit. It was called margin buying. We could pay for an item over time, and that's what America uses now: credit. What does that mean? They infuse money again into the economy. And during the 1940s and the 1950s, they give their people money. They give them home to live in. They were intentional about uplifting their people. Do we have a government or people who talk about that? How we're going to create this money, this wealth, so we can help our people? Do we have people who look to help the people first and not themselves? Okay, America has shown the blueprint. You cannot have a democracy when people are desperate. You can't. They will not make decisions as best for the general public. They'll make what assuage their pain right now. They'll worry about self-preservation first. When you have a true leader, you will see that he's intentional about eliminating pain of the people. That's what you do first. You first eliminate the pain. And then you go to how do we reform the system, and then how we recover, and then how do we reform the system. Those are the steps. When we are looking to pick a leader, we must understand this. We have to have leaders who knows what they're doing, and the responsibility falls on us. You cannot go about being so polite. Doesn't mean you have to disrespect anyone, but you cannot be so polite that you don't ask the real questions. A country that's not asking this, there's a reason why the press is called the fourth estate. If we don't ask real questions to these people and literally hold their feet to the fire, our country is not getting any better. And it might be mine today, but your family will be affected too, sooner or later. We must walk away from this tribal politics. We must walk away from popularity. We must walk towards what's best for everybody and who's the best person to execute this.
Thank you, Peter. So we're gonna come around. Since we didn't get in a call, and we're gonna go ahead and finish up. Yes, I'm gonna be cooking all night. I have a lot of guests coming in, but I'm glad that we were able to hang out tonight, Peter, to talk to our people. So we talk about um, being intentional, and I always would take you back to places. I would take you to Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. I would take you to Park Jong Hee of South Korea, and I'll come to John McAfee in right here in Africa. And then Paul Kangabi, the first thing he did was he provided housing. He provided education. He wanted, his intention was he wanted Rwanda to be the tech capital of Africa, which it has become. He built university. He makes K1 through 12 free. Now, Rwandans go to school free. If you want your children to go there, most of the people who pay there are international students. A lot of Liberians, lawmakers who got 70,000, 80,000 scholarship are sending their worshippers there to go to school. Some of them, who they sleep with, they send in there to go to school. Rwanda had the worst genocide in history during our war. In less than 3 months, they only life over 3 million people, over a million people. It took us 14 years to get to that. But the leader is intentional. Call him whatever you want to call him. Is he perfect? Hell no. But guess what? I think I spoke on here before. I say if I was a captain on the ship, and there are 10,000 people on that ship, and I need to balance the ship to save 9,800 persons by removing 200 people, I would throw 200 people overboard because I would rather sacrifice 200 people than sacrifice all 10 million people. They call it the greater goods in leadership. Okay. I'm not saying literally, I'm just saying the sacrifice that needs to be made. So if he's building this country, the country I had in Rwanda now, tribe is not an issue. Competence, building people. Lona did that. West ship Brazil. That's how Brazil were able to get the Olympic to go to Brazil. One man who worked away in a warehouse to the upper class, who won the election. The first thing he did was he said, we're gonna give incentives to parents instead of your children selling in the street. Every child you put in school, that school is gonna be free. You will get $150. You know what? The money that the parents got, they invested it back into the economy. They built their homes. They were able to buy refrigerator. They were able to buy washing machine. Their children left the street. You see in Brazil. Lula were intentional of shifting, although the mafia were all over the place, but he was intentional. You see that with a little boy. Try away. Education is free. Where, like me, where I live is where the my lawmaker lives. Her kids are grown, but she got grandchildren, and the grandchildren live with her. They go to the same school where the other neighbors go to school. They don't put them in separate school. He said there will be no different school where the everyday child goes to school because he knows what it's like. He walked to school. He knows what it like to discriminate. You all going to go to the same school, the system. And he said, we'll teach our children our history. We'll teach them war history so they are not easily impressed or lied to. Because when you know, people cannot just tell you to move this way and you move. Okay? So those are the things that we are. So we need to find out, especially with, and I'm going to finish the mind with the young people. With the young people. Young people. I always say on this platform, you have everything to lose. Do not get on social media and start threatening people and start insulting people. If your leaders who are giving you $1 on your car or giving you $20 to eat, children are not doing it. The children are in school, they're studying. You should not do it. Even I, Yasini Martin, that every now and then maybe I'll do something for you. If I tell you go curse somebody, don't do it. Because I will never ask my children to curse somebody. Stay with the issue. You can never go wrong staying with the issue. Everything we say here is with the issue. Even when we say Joseph Walker is crook, it's the issue. He is. That is the issue. He's not honest. He's not forthcoming. That is the issue that we are dealing with. So we want people to understand that. If you come tomorrow and you ask me 3 years from now, I will tell you, I still believe that. Okay? So we chronicle those things. We have to look at their honesty, integrity, competence. They must be agile. If they don't know, they don't know. You can put them there and press sing all day long. You see now we got cash reload or live reload coming on. If these people were doing, they know they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They know the Liberian people know they have failed. They know they have failed. So now they're coming back on social media to run propaganda. It is insulting to me when my siblings are calling and say, yeah, it's hard here. My uncle is calling when he can't even get me a job. But you won't tell them, no, you're not hungry. You're imagining it. No, your children are going to school. You're just lying. No, there's enough food in the market. You can buy food cheaper than before. It let me walk in. Peter, I went to the market this week. I bought $1,700 worth of food. It's in my sink. A year ago, if I bought $700 worth of food, it would not fit in my fridge. So our Papa Trump told me things are cheaper. I would think he insulted me. So I will stop here. That will be my closing. And I will leave Peter to close. God, thank you for tuning in. Those who hang out with us. Let's do this again. God bless.
So again, Cindy, thanks for this conversation. I want to close by saying this. No one's coming to rescue us. Somebody said one time to you before, how is the diaspora Liberians, the middle class, that Liberian built? I think that person doesn't understand what a middle class is. A middle class is just a class of spenders, people with disposable incomes, people who can afford to buy things that they don't necessarily need to survive, but they can buy extra, a little bit. Middle class. We're the middle class because we take that little extra and we send it back home. We're the engine that keeps Liberia going.
800 million.
To a tune of 800 million. Yeah, that's beyond the middle class. We are the
Yes.
first. We are the first class for 800 million. The point I'm making is we should also be the Liberian intellectual class. We should also be the Liberian electoral college. Not NIMBA, the diasporan Liberians. I know what he meant when he said electoral college. He meant the swing voters from NIMBA. I'm talking about Jeremiah Cohn saying that.
Oh, that talking mouth.
Okay, it doesn't matter. We are the electoral college, and the reason why I say that is because we have seen different. We know better because of what we've experienced. We know what a functioning government feels like, looks like, smells like, because we live in the diaspora. We've seen other people, countries do it. So it's incumbent on us to impress on our people the type of choices we make, because leadership matters. Guys, if we love Liberia, we have to do something now. There's an urgency of now. Our generation is the last generation that can literally lift Liberia. Here's why I'm saying that. For those of us, I keep talking about the diaspora Liberians, those of us who live here, guys, our children are not sending money to Liberia.
No.
We are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sending money to Liberia. We are, because that's where we come from. That's why our never seas are buried. That's where we walk those dusty roads. We have empathy. We were there. We sat in those school buildings. I sat in the SDA building. I still remember. With no roof so you can hear what the other class is saying, disrupting your class room. I walked those dusty roads on Lamco. I still remember. And the train tracks. So I understand that I need to send money back because I'm in a position where I can help a little bit. When we are gone, it's over. So what legacy are we going to leave? Here's what we have to do something now, because the way we're doing things doesn't work, and we know that. So are we okay with that? Guys, only the government can create the environment for prosperity.
Tell them again.
Nobody else can. Only the government. Stop expecting some individual, oh, you got millions, so you go build roads and
no. Telling you must put your money somewhere so you can build in a country that is that turbulent, that have no accountability. Mm-hmm.
No.
And you're supposed to believe that you're not
bringing a container full of expired medication and donated medication is not it's not what you're supposed to look at to pick a leader. The government is supposed to provide health care based on because of the money that they have access to. We just have to have a leader who understands how to make everything work. The government is supposed to build schools, not some individual. And they're supposed to equip the schools. Don't stop depending on people. Tell our people they need to stop thinking that someone has to do it. And if they do that, then they show patriotism and show love for the country. That's not how it works. It doesn't work like that anywhere. Only the government can do the heavy lifting. Only the government can build those roads. Only
Yeah.
the government can build those schools and those hospitals from our money,
Yeah.
from our birthright. They're
Mhm.
not supposed to take the money and buy $1.5 million car worth
Mhm.
of cars so you can ride around in a Lexus, Joseph Boycott. It to me, it is shameful that an old man thought he needed that. And you need a $900 pair of shoes. It is shameful. And your family might have money, but you're not going to have legacy. It's you should be ashamed, but you're not. That tells me you're empty. You're glebe. You're surfaced. Nobody respects that. Nobody out of desperation respect that. I certainly don't. And that's not a legacy you want to leave. We need to do something. We need to speak truth to power. Okay? So the point I'm making here is if we don't speak and ask our people to do what's right and what's best for the country and provide leadership, they're not going to know what to do, guys. But we need to examine the way we pick leaders, or else we're not going to have a nation. So just like in America, the World War II generation was supposed to be the greatest generation because they fought against Hitler and won. We need to fight against this kleptocracy that we have, this oligarchy, this class of people who thinks that they have this entitlement to leadership. That would be a real revolution when we pick, when we get our people, help our people, support our people in picking a patriotic leader with integrity that has knowledge. So that's why I want to close tonight. Yeah, Cindy, thank you so much for allowing the conversation to happen.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Guys, it takes a lot for us to come out here after we work all day. Okay, we're not sitting home on some cushion that we pack up. We still have to come and how you got it. But I want to close with this, Peter. I want to close with this video right here, where this man is talking to the Liberian people. And that will say goodnight to the Liberian people here. So keep this in mind. These are your leaders. These are the peace, Peter. These are the people that you chose. Here you go.
To this leadership, I'm telling you, we don't want a leadership that when our gas coupon come, they can reach us. We do not want a leadership that will have special section. The Senate are receiving 100% and we are receiving 40%. I stop by to this leadership. I'm telling you, we don't want a leadership that when our gas coupon come, they can reach us. We do not want a leadership that will have special section. The Senate are receiving 100% and we are receiving 40%.